Hi, my name is Mark Walker, and I'm the Editorial Director of the Fintech Times. And first of all, I'm going to introduce my wonderful interviewee here. This is Mete Guney. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Perhaps we could start off by giving us a little overview of your role within Mastercard.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Well, I have been in payments business for more than 2 decades, and I have been in different geographies. For the last 12 months, I'm in charge of Mastercard's relations with non-financial institutions. Basically, everything but banks. It includes retailers, airlines, digital players, fintechs, crypto companies. It's a very exciting work, and today we will be decoding the stablecoins.
Yeah, well, it's one of my favorite subjects, stablecoins, at the moment, and it has been perhaps for the last 8 to 12 months or so. Let's start off with a little bit of background on the sort of stablecoin side of things. What is the main sort of obstacles that you think stablecoins are able to overcome?
You know, the concept of blockchain has been with us more than 15 years, maybe even more. It has been a very interesting topic. It's very speculative, but also very volatile. Still, it got a lot of attention. I mean, today maybe there are more than billions of people who have invested into different forms of blockchain technology, whether it is Bitcoin, Ethereum, or others. But having said that, this technology was only considered as an investment asset for a long time. We had different ways of that. We have, maybe you will remember, NFTs. Then we have the meme coins. Nowadays, we are talking about tokenizing real-world assets. But for the last 2-3 years, there is another trend which got a lot of traction, which is very different than the other ways we have seen, which is stable coins. And what stable coins brought to our lives, on top of what blockchain technology has offered, is pricing stability. Because the blockchain technology offers us the opportunity to make transactions 24 hours, 7 days, any time of the day, any time of the week. Plus, it is very affordable, very low cost for transactions. It is transparent, which is great, but it was not sufficient because it was very volatile. With the introduction of stable coins, this issue has been also sorted, so we also have pricing stability. This is when everyone started to think about, now, how can I use it for other use cases? What are the areas where stable coins can be utilized? And what we see is in business payments, in cross-border remittances, in foreign currency exchange trading, or in escrow accounts, this technology started to make some traction. And in fact, today, the volume of stablecoin trading has reached to a level which is almost equal to the volume of the international payment schemes. But we have to be mindful of one fact, because still 90%, more than 90% of this volume is still related to crypto trading.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of when people start thinking about crypto, you don't necessarily put stablecoins into the same one. So it's quite a good branding exercise to bring them into more of a mainstream sort of area. And as you say, the most logical areas are remittances and cross-border payments because of the ease of use. Do you think that we're moving into a new phase of moving away from that being just a settlement device, but actually looking at real-world application of consumer payments?
Well, you know, in order to become mainstream, you need to address some pain points. Otherwise, you will still be there as a good technology, but without any problem to solve. With all these points that I have shared with you about low cost, transparency, the operational 24/7 days, and being almost instant, that got a lot of attention in the area of remittances. Because today, when you want to send money to any country, in some specific cases, it may take up to 4 or 5 days. You don't know how much it will cost you. You know that it will cost you a lot of money, but you don't have exact figure in terms of the total cost. And you cannot follow where your money is. I mean, for 4 or 5 days, it is completely black. But with the introduction of stablecoins, all these pain points have been addressed. Mastercard in this region, in this part of the world, is the leader in terms of remittance volumes. And UAE, Saudi, and all other GCC markets are huge in terms of the remittance volumes. And we are the market leader. And we started using stable coins for settlement of these international remittances.
And I think it's kind of like one of those things that people, even when you're using a traditional payment method, people always assume that actually a pound or a dollar was moving from one place to another place. But money doesn't actually ever move. It was literally just transmitted that a message has happened and the data was moving and then the money moved. So stable coins offer a little bit more visibility of this whole chain, don't they?
Exactly.
And that level coming into the consumer could perhaps address the one big topic that we need to talk about, which is trust and getting consumers to trust stable coins as a payment. What's your sort of feeling on that evolution, if you like?
Mastercard has been operational for more than 60 years, and we run many different currencies on our ecosystem. But for us, the most important currency is not US dollar, is not euro, is not any other currency. It is trust. Trust is the most important currency of our ecosystem. If I come to you and say that, hey, you know what? I am introducing my own money. You can use it anywhere. You will be most likely thinking, hey, is this guy crazy? Who is going to use his money? You're right. Because it doesn't make any sense. Trust needs to be there. And trust comes with, first of all, regulation. Because it endorses a solution by taking care of consumer protection, by taking care of compliance. If something goes wrong, who will be managing that? This is why we need regulation. And in fact, we are lucky to be in this country, in UAE. We have VARA, we have the Central Bank of UAE, which also allowed, payments with stable coins, but it has to be dirham backed. And it has to be a licensed institution which is issuing these stable coins. And we have seen first examples of these payment instruments for dirham-backed stable coins. Al Maria Bank, Zand, and a few other financial institutions are also going into this domain.
And I think you're in a very interesting position within the ecosystem. As you alluded to at the beginning, you deal with banks, you deal with fintechs, you deal with merchants, you deal with everybody in the connection point. So what do you feel is your role and the sort of the advantages you can bring to payments based on being effectively the overseer of the ecosystem?
Well, we have been running a payment ecosystem for more than 6 decades, and we want to leverage this experience in the area of stable coins. But it is still a new technology, an emerging concept. That's why we need to keep exploring new, business cases, new areas of utilization of stable coins. That's why we need to rely on partnerships. And we have announced many of these partnerships recently. For instance, with Circle, and now we are enabling acquirers to settle in stable coins. In fact, there are already 2 institutions, Arab Financial Services and Easy Financial Services, leveraging this technology. We have a partnership with Paxos. Paxos helps you to mint, redeem, and distribute USDG stablecoins as a financial institution. We have partnerships with PayPal, with Pfizer, and many others in order to identify new use cases. We also introduced some new technologies. We have multi-token network we call MTN. Basically, it brings together these isolated technologies of payments, stable coins in a way that it is standardized. We are building a highway which cuts across all these domains, making it easier for all financial institutions to explore the concept of digital assets as well as stable coins. Also, we have introduced a directory service for, cryptos, because when you want to send your stable coins from one wallet to another wallet, you need to enter a very weird address name, which is quite complicated for any consumer. And we are making it much more easier with this directory service.
You're kind of touching on another topic that I wanted to go into, which is interoperability. Because what we're hearing a lot about stable coins, I was talking to the founder of Polygon recently, and he predicted 100,000 different stable coins by the end of 2026, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. But you've got lots of different people now releasing their stable coins. What part is Mastercard going to play in that interoperability layer effectively?
Well, we already talked about, trust, regulation to make stablecoins go mainstream. But is this enough? No, because we also need to enable interoperability and we need to take care of the acceptance side of stablecoins. You can issue as many as you want, but who is going to accept these stablecoins at their points of sales? Mastercard has 150 million point of sales today. So imagine integrating all these stablecoins to these merchants one by one. It will take ages. It will take a lot of effort because it comes with every stable coin has its own standards. So there is no unique standardization. So that is quite complicated, but we have a solution. In fact, we can be the bridge between the world of stable coins and everyday payments. And this is what we are enabling with stablecoin backed payment cards. We have millions of those already in the market. And today, this card is attached to your stablecoin wallet or any digital asset wallet. And you can use this card at any merchant where Mastercard is accepted. And this is how we are bridging the world of digital assets with the payments.
Fantastic. And I don't want to keep you from your presentation, which is coming up very shortly, which we're looking forward to. But final sort of question, what will we be talking about when it comes to stable coins in the next 6, 12, or even 24 months? Where do you think we're going with the journey in stable coins in payments?
I think this trend will continue to grow. I have no doubt about that. And this morning I was thinking about the fact that the only stable thing in, today's world might be stable coins. We are going through a very different turbulence globally in terms of the geopolitical and economic environment. That's why stable coins offer us the stability that we are looking for, which is very important for consumers, for institutions, for any stakeholder in that ecosystem. And in addition to what stable coins have offered so far, we will see different features and different use cases coming up. Because the one aspect of stable coins, which is programmability, you can program your stable coins and release them when some conditions are met. This hasn't been utilized in a proper manner so far. The moment we introduce that, I think this will help us to unlock many different use cases. And what we will also see is different currencies, stable coins backed by different currencies. And it can be even the commodities. We will see more of those gold-backed or silver-backed, stable coins, or many similar commodities backing stable coins, which will also give users different reasons to leverage stable coins in the future.
Okay, I think it's going to be very interesting times ahead of us. Thank you so much for joining me at the Fintech Times.
Thank you. My pleasure.